Let's discuss this a little bit more now with William Courtney in Washington. He's the former US Ambassador to Georgia and Kazakhstan. He's also served as Special Assistant to the US President for Russia, Ukraine and Eurasia. He's now an adjunct fellow at the RAND Corporation. William, welcome to the NewsHour. Appreciate your time. William, just talk us through the consequences, not just for Ukraine, but the world as a whole, if Russia succeeds in its mission and takes South and East Ukraine, effectively making Ukraine a landlocked nation.
Well, it's helpful to separate the eastern part, which borders on the Azov Sea, and the southern part, which borders on the Black Sea. Russia has already controlled most of the area on the Azov Sea, except, of course, the Avtostal steel plant in Mariupol. But on the southern side, it controls part of the area bordering on the Black Sea, but has been unable to conquer Mykolaiv, which is on the road to Odessa. It seems quite unlikely that Russia will succeed in taking Odessa and probably Mykolaiv. Russia's forces are depleted to a considerable extent as compared with the beginning of this fight. And they are going to face a lot of struggles in the fight for the Donbass, which is the next priority for the Russians.
And there's also been lots of talk that Russian troops also have low morale at this stage after 2 months of fighting. Ukraine has received quite a bit of support from its Western allies, the US, of course, being one of them, pledging hundreds of millions of dollars in military aid. How else are leaders in the US looking at supporting Ukraine in this ongoing war?
Well, support in the United States, bipartisan support, Democrats and Republicans, is really quite strong, as it has been and is in Europe as well. It's hard to remember a time where the West is so unified, and this is something that Russia has caused. So I think Ukraine will receive a lot more support from the West. And a couple of the reasons why are there's a strong will to fight among Ukrainians, in contrast to the low morale, as you point out, for the Russians. And also the Ukrainians are very effectively using the equipment that the West provides. So that has built confidence in the West and will likely lead to more support from the West.
William, 2 months into this war, there's been a fair amount of criticism leveled at Russia's army. Does this kind of criticism and what we've seen in Ukraine embolden other countries to not be possibly as concerned about Russia in a military sense, especially when we see nations like Finland and Sweden now wanting to join NATO?
Well, there are actually both effects. Countries are emboldened because they see how poorly Russian ground troops have performed in this conflict. But they also recognize that Russian ground troops were not prepared to fight. Many of the soldiers were not even told they were going into a war. So they might think that the Russian ground forces could do better next time. But at the same time, Russian attack on Ukraine, a fellow East Slavic country with which Russia, Putin has said that they're no different there in Ukraine than in Russians. They're one people. And so Russia's other neighbors are likely to think that Russia is more irrational, if you will, or more aggressive or chauvinistic in deciding to use force against neighbors. So there could be concerns as well as some relief.
William Courtney, really great to get your analysis on this ongoing conflict between Russia and Ukraine. Thank you so much.